One, I think historically people used to meet at work, and now that's a faux pas. You don't really want to do that. You don't really want to shit what you eat. If it goes wrong, it's a hot mess. Obviously, also,
Mm.
if you are mistaken in the other person's interest, it can seriously backfire as well. So yeah, I
Mm.
would never recommend any, young cousin of mine, look for love in the
Just
workplace.
kidding.
I'll be honest with you, right?
Yeah. All
Then also,
managers out there, look for love amongst your direct reports. Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Techish. I am one half of your hosting duo, Abadesi of Hustle Crew, joined with
Michael Behane, the CEO of Pocket and Pocket Jobs. Let's go.
We have a lot to cover in this episode, but let's start with the story of an app inspired by spite. So if you aren't familiar, Nikita Beer, what was the last company that he sold? TBH, right?
He had Gas, which was basically a
Yes, that's
clone
it.
of TBH, which were like anonymous polling apps for high school teens, and he sold them both to like
Mm,
two different companies. And
yeah.
this is now his new app.
Wow. So this guy is basically the king of exits. And on January 14th, he took to X to announce the origin story behind his app. It was a Snapchat killer. It is a Snapchat killer. I haven't been able to go on it yet. And he built this Snapchat killer specifically to spite Snapchat because 2 years ago, when he met with Snapchat's CEO to discuss acquiring his previous company, which he didn't describe in detail, but probably is Gas. It didn't go very well. A week later, they actually removed his app from their Snapkit creator platform or app developer platform, which halted its growth. So fast forward 2 years later, he has not forgotten and he's launched a new app, which is all about sending disappearing messages and text within iMessage, blocking screenshots, etc. And he decided to launch this with a story of spite. Now, I'm guessing that he watched that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David launches a spite coffee shop to spite someone. But yeah, what did you think of this story, Michael? And what have you launched out of spite?
My whole life, I'm very much driven by spite and animosity and hatred, and just I think that's fueled probably about 20% of my career. Just like, you know what, well, you don't believe that I can do this. You don't believe me, yeah? All right, cool. You'll see in it. But I love
Fair.
the story. Obviously, for context, Nikita Beer is like, he's the master at building like viral apps, and
Mm.
I think this story is potentially part of the virality of the app, in the sense that I don't believe that the story is completely true. It might not be true
I was
at
going to
all. It
say,
could be
who
just,
even knows if it is true?
yeah, I know, but it basically definitely
Does
helps.
it
Like, imagine
matter?
now, if you're competing against Meta, you want to have a
Mm.
story about one time Mark Zuckerberg, like, he backstabbed me, he didn't shake my hand, he didn't look me
Yeah.
in the eye. It gives you a whole nice spiel. So,
Mm.
but yeah, to be fair, like, actually, there is a chance that this could hurt Snap, because essentially the way it works is I send you a message and it sends you a link, and then you open the link and it will show you a disappearing or an exploding message, which is why the app is called Explode, right? And that was essentially the OG initial use case of Snap, which, let's keep it real, was
Mm.
pretty pervy. It was like sexting and stuff like that, or at least that's what the PR said. But
Okay,
I think
I don't know
he's
who's on
basically,
your Snapchat. My Snapchat was not about
no,
that.
but I think you're misremembering, like, when Snap initially
Okay.
launched, it started with high school students, and the whole idea was,
Mm.
oh, this is a sexting app because the messages disappear or
Okay.
the images disappear, blah blah blah. So the fact that this is integrated and works across all messaging platforms, because it's basically just a link. Yo, man, Snap, watch out. Obviously, Snap is a multi-billion-dollar company, but I like it. Shout out to him. You know what I mean? I think I learned a
Shout
lot
out to the
from,
spite builders.
yeah, shout out to the spite builders out there, man. And to be fair, listen, I definitely recommend following him. I wouldn't say, obviously, I agree with like everything he says, but he's definitely the master at building viral apps. Outside of a VC-backed ecosystem, he knows how to make every page and user flow, landing page, whatever, count. Basically, every pixel matters, right? So yeah, shout out to
Mm.
him. Let's see how it goes.
Why don't we talk about the 45th president of the United States and yeah, what they did to celebrate their inauguration? Here's a question. If you were invited to speak at the inauguration, they're like, Michael,
Mm.
spit some bars or come and do a talk. Would you do it? Would you go? Or like if
Do you know
Here we
what?
go. This is a more realistic one.
Okay, go on.
Nigel Farage becomes the prime minister of the
Yeah.
UK and invites you to number 10. Do you go?
Probably not, but it depends on what is the context. So if the context is I get to speak to him and or do a speech where I can
Mm.
say my piece, I probably would go. If it's basically a photo op of like, let's get as many black and brown people in the room as possible so it looks like we're not racist, then absolutely not, right?
Mm.
So for
Yeah.
example, during the kind of inauguration, there was like a church mass, I think, and the priest or pastor, she basically made a speech saying, listen, show love to the immigrant, show love to the stranger as Jesus Christ did. So she used her position to, of influence in that moment to say her message. I would do the same thing. But yeah, listen, I'm not holding my breath. I don't think Farage is going to holler at your boy. But yeah, and let's not even speak that into existence, because I really do fear that he might win one day the prime ministership. But yeah,
but that's stoicism, isn't it? Stoicism is just like imagining all the like horrific scenarios and then mentally preparing for them. So, stay woke, as the Childish Gambino song says. So why don't we talk about the tech bigwigs, the fat cats, the money men, the billionaires that rolled up for the inauguration. It was quite the who's who of tech leaders. You had Zuck, Bezos,
they were
all
all
the
there.
big names. I don't know where our invite was though. It was quite rude actually that all the tech
For real?
heavyweights, Techish, were there.
I know.
Awkward.
How dare you?
Awkward for them.
How dare you?
Not that I would have gone, but you know what? Actually, I wouldn't mind seeing Nelly at the Nelly Live and Snoop Dogg and Soldier Boy. But yeah, what was more interesting was actually the speculation around who Zuck had his eyes on at that. So Zuckerberg, who we've covered in previous episodes, is suspected to be eyeing up the fiance of his rival, Jeff Bezos. People have been snooping around on the internet. They found that he has been liking her Instagram posts. She's been liking his stories. This is Sanchez, who was wearing a very flattering Alexander McQueen outfit, which some of the gentlemen enjoyed, maybe a little too much. What are your thoughts on this? Do you predict a Zuckerberg affair on the horizon, or do you think this is another carefully planned move on his part to seem less like an alien and more like a red-blooded male? America.
I saw this great headline. I'll put a link to the article, but essentially the headline was, I always knew that the world would eventually get taken over by like rich and powerful men, but I had no idea they'd be such losers. And obviously, if you look at Zuck and Elon,
Did I say that? That sounds like something
no, you didn't say that. It was a headline that was in the Independent. But yeah, but it could have been you. You know what I'm saying, isn't it? Like, but I think that sums it up in the sense that like I don't think Mark is doing, checking out Jeff Bezos' fiance's breasts because it's a PR move. I just feel like he's just like a little horny kid, like, and he's basically probably starting to work out, starting to feel human again. He's no longer a robot, you know what I'm saying? And they probably given him testosterone replacement as well, so he can't control his wandering eyes. Like, so that's what I think's happened.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I feel. But to be honest, man, listen, I was glad that there was a light-hearted story that we could take away from the inauguration, because at one point I was like, man, like
clutching at straws though.
Bruv, we're clutching, because I got into this industry and really thought of tech as like, yo, we're gonna help improve the world. There's some, I wouldn't say backbone here, but there's some sort of ethical root to what we're doing. Some integrity. We're trying to do something that's actually improving humanity. We're pushing the world forward. And to see like the heavy hitters just bow down and just make sure that they attended that inauguration when they didn't really have to. Michelle Obama never came. Like, what's Tim Cook doing there? Really and truly, like I get it. Your shareholders are going to appreciate you being there. Your shareholders are going to want to see you there. You do not want to make an enemy of Trump. But it's like, yo, you've all got FU money and none of you have the ability to say FU. And you're just there like bowing, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Maybe
it's like,
FOMO.
Wow.
Or catering.
I don't
Maybe
think
the
it's
catering
FOMO.
is really good.
I don't think it's FOMO, man. I feel like it's just the power is a magnet, and these people cannot be away from power, and they cannot be away from opportunities to increase their net worth and their company's net worth. And Trump basically is like an authoritarian who will give contracts and assets and to his friends and to people that he likes. But from a ROI perspective, it made complete sense to be there. But from an ethical perspective, I'm just like, what's going on, man? This industry is just full of cowards. I'll be honest with you. Let's quickly talk about the artists who perform. So there was a whole like crypto ball that happened. So it wasn't the official Trump party, but essentially there was a party being held by crypto people in the industry who were at the inauguration, like David Sachs. And in that party, you had Snoop performing, you had Nelly performing, I think Rick Ross performed, a whole bunch of rappers. Snoop famously a couple of years ago was like, Yeah, Snoop famously a couple of years ago was like, "Yo, like anyone who performed at the last 2016 inauguration was like an Uncle Tom." So now he's done a complete 180,
Mm,
basically. What do you think
okay.
this signifies? Is this a vibe shift? Is this
That
cowardice? Is
cost of
this
living
like,
crisis hit Snoop hard, huh?
yeah,
Damn,
yeah,
okay. I was just laughing because before the show recording started, I was watching the clip of Soldier Boy defending his performance at the inauguration ball. And all the comments were so interesting because people are just like, you don't have any integrity. The fact that you will just work to a price tag. And yeah, the fact that Snoop was like, no, like you're an Uncle Tom if you perform at Trump's inauguration, and now he is literally doing it how many years later, 8 years later. Does that make him a hypocrite? Well, I mean, yeah, that's literally the definition of hypocrite, when you do what you say you won't do. But I don't know, maybe times are hard. I mean, I feel looking at him that bro's got money. I mean, I saw, but at the same time, he's working like the rent is due. I mean, at the Olympics closing ceremony, he was there dancing around, for the LA announcement. Is Snoop okay? I feel like Snoop's okay, but I don't know. Maybe someone needs to check on Snoop. Uncle Snoop, you okay?
I think there's an element where that's all true, but also I think Trump obviously now is very normalized. He's won the second election, and you can say the first one's a fluke, but this time, obviously, a large percentage of America has said, we want this guy back in power again. So it's very hard to be that kind of resistance figure who's like, I am going to be fighting against this person, when it's like, yo, the majority of people have voted for this guy. It wasn't a fluke. He is the president. He's the president again. So I think there's a level of like, just, yeah, it's been normalized. And it's like, well, are we going to act like he's any different to George W. Bush, basically, right? So I don't know. I think that's probably what it is. And also, listen, money talks. Rappers are very money hungry.
Yeah.
The other thing is,
I want
man,
to know
like
how
Rick
much
Ross
they got
performed.
paid.
I'm sure it was a sizable amount. But like Rick Ross performed, and I love Rick Ross in it. I love Rick Ross's music in it. But you got to stop calling yourself a boss. Like when you're still just tap dancing for any show, you're not a boss. That's not a boss move. A boss move is the guy who's promoting the show, who owns the show, who's got businesses making him money. Maybe he does the odd show every now and then. But when you're just tap dancing for any gig, yeah, if you're just tap dancing for any gig, stop calling yourself the biggest boss. That's not a boss move, bro. I'm sorry, man. I got love for Ross. I think he's a legend. I love his music, but I can't take it seriously no more, man. I can't. It's a betrayal. But then I think also we got to quickly talk about this. Bro, the way you're laughing, isn't it? Yeah. Rick Ross's goons are gonna come for me. I can't go to Miami. I can't go to Miami. I'm done.
I didn't see that coming. No, I got love for Rick Ross.
But the TikTok ban, obviously, as well. That's another kind of palaver that's been going down since we think.
Theater of nonsense. Come on now. I feel like that was all orchestrated to give this guy an early win. 45, the Orange Man, whatever you want to call him.
He's 45 and 47. You got to remember, he's not just 45. He's 45 and 47.
Okay, sure. And if you add the two numbers, it equals his actual age.
There you go. Yeah, it's weird because essentially Trump was the one who started this whole TikTok must be banned. And he realized how popular the app is. He also realized that he's actually quite popular on the app. Then he also got donations from somebody who is an investor in the app. And now he's done a 180. And the level of just open corruption is absolutely insane. I mean, let's also talk about the meme coin that he did, which is one of the worst things I've ever seen.
How is that legal?
Yeah, I mean, I think, this is a tech podcast, but some tech, we have to acknowledge, is just nothing but a vehicle for fraud and deception. And meme coins are definitely those. They have no intrinsic value. There's no utility. There's no public good. It literally is just a tool of speculation. The last person who holds the bag loses the money. And Trump is cashing in. I think he may very well be worth, multi-billion dollars by the time he comes out of presidency. I think a lot of his previous net worth was kind of fugazi, this whole, real estate, blah, blah, blah. But he may well make billions of dollars through this alone. Do you know what I'm saying? And then the fact that Melania, through his coins, these fake coins. And then now even Melania has released the coin straight away. And it's like, this is just like a get rich quick scheme. Like, what's going on?
Retail investors, stay away. Please, for the love of God, stay away. Your capital is at risk. This is an unregulated market. No, you cannot afford to be making bets like this. Trust me, if you're listening to this show, you have more intellect than that. Come on.
The difficulty is that, like, if you are smart and savvy, you can make a lot of money. There was one wallet that basically put in $1 million, and I think they cashed out like 30-40 million. So people are enticed by that, get rich quick scheme thing, right? Most likely that ain't going to be you. That ain't going to be us. And there's a whole bunch of insiders who are given tokens early. And they basically it's an inside game. It's rigged against you. You are not part of the club, bruv. You are on the outside. We are all on the outside here. Don't be a sucker. Don't be a fool. So tech and Trump interacting that way with fraudulent coins, but they also interact with this whole TikTok thing, just to go back full circle.
Yeah.
What do we make of this? Where do you think this ends up? Do you think this ends up with TikTok being sold? Do you think this ends up with TikTok just, being banned? Because they've got a 90-day reprieve.
I think it's just interesting to think of what is the leverage that TikTok has here.
Very little. Very little.
And the big issue is, I mean, Paul Graham actually did like an interesting tweet on this, because someone was like, TikTok all about the creator, TikTok's this, TikTok that. And he's like, well, if it was, then they would have just sold already, right? The fact that they haven't sold already proves that they are not a private company, or at least that they're owned by someone else, which is of course what they so vehemently deny. But I don't know. I think they will just get sold to continue running. But we'll see. I mean, I haven't looked at the China-US balance sheet recently, the debts and whatever political leverage could be going on there, but I'm sure there's like a good analysis on the internet somewhere that could offer some insight.
I think why I don't buy this whole line about like, why would they not sell? Like if they are just purely motivated by business interest and are not just tools of the Chinese Communist Party, why would they not sell? If you recollect, Google at one point had a presence in China. At one point, Google basically realized that this ain't going to work because they want us to either censor stuff or whatever. If the CCP went to Google and said, you've got to sell Google China to a local partner, would they do that? I don't think they would, because they're like, why are we going to give away our algorithm, our recipe? Like, why would we do that?
So what
we don't
happened?
know. In the end, Google just divested and left. They just divested
so maybe
and left.
TikTok will leave then.
Exactly. But what I'm saying to you is that people are basically saying that TikTok is completely spyware from top to bottom. And that essentially the reason why they don't want to sell is because it's not a for-profit business, it's just spyware. And that's why they're not motivated by rational economic interests, which is basically, sell to another buyer. But I don't believe that to be the case. I wouldn't sell. Why am I going to sell? F you, man.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. No way.
Also, like, TikTok is spyware. Didn't Siri just settle a massive class action lawsuit for like listening to people when people didn't realize they were listening to them? Like, define spyware. Like, if spyware is just like you're capturing data unbeknownst to me as a user, that's like every app on my phone right now.
I think what I've heard AOC say, she said that she was presented like the security perspective, and she said it wasn't that clear that, it was a security threat. To me, I think the biggest issue with TikTok and why it has so much hateration against it is that it is an uncontrollable way for people to vocalize perspectives that are not on the news. So a lot of people who are vocal advocates of Palestine, of what's happened in Gaza, they have found a platform in TikTok that is not controllable,
Yeah.
And their message is not being controlled, basically. That's what I believe it is. I believe it's because TikTok is influencing the youth, as they say, and people don't like the way the youth are being influenced. And that's my
alternate theory. The reason I don't disagree with that theory, but I think there's not enough money tied to that theory. And I've lived on this earth long enough to know that behind any movement is some financial motivation. Either people are stopping things because they're not making money off of them and they want to, right? They're killing competition, or they're stopping it because they benefit financially from stopping that in another way. And I remember many years ago going to a talk about AI, and one of the like researchers on this panel saying it's not about like who has the best AI tools, it's about who has the most data to train their AI. And I found that really fascinating, and it really like left an impression on me. And I think the reason why TikTok is being pushed out of the US is because it's not a US owned company. It's getting a lot of data from US citizens, and there is some political / commercial coalition being formed that's like, this is not right. This attention, this data, these users are giving value to a foreign entity that's market cap is going to grow and not be realized here in the US. And we should be having that value realized in the US. And I think that's ultimately what it is. And all of the intelligent stuff is just like a nice little narrative to wrap around the fact that they're a threat to Google, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, everyone else. And it's not cool. If people are going to be making money off attention, off American attention, better be Americans. That's what I think.
I think to summarize, I would agree with you. I think anytime there's a big move going down, there's always going to be a coalition of people behind it with different emphasis. And I think your one is absolutely true. I think there's a security component. I think there's a messaging component, which I said. I think also Meta. So if you recollect, Mark Zuckerberg got hauled in front of Congress like a couple of years ago.
What is Facebook?
Yeah, exactly, right? But from there on in, actually, Meta and a lot of big tech really ramped up their political donations. So
Yeah, of
the
course.
one company that stands to make the most if TikTok gets banned is Meta, because where are all those eyeballs going to go? Most likely to Instagram and Instagram Reels. So there's a confluence of people, of coalitions. There's Meta, there's the security there's security concerns, there's messaging concerns, financial concerns, and there's Trump. So yeah, let's see how it plays out, man. Yeah, so we've got this section where we're kind of dubbing it the mess. So we'll talk about messy stuff.
Mess.
And so you found this tweet where basically it said, you either find love in college or you reschedule Hinge dates until you die. Now, as two people in very long-term relationships, we're the least qualified people to speak about this, but amongst your circles, does this ring true?
I know for a fact that people do find dating trash. That is something that I think is going to be unsurprising to anyone listening on the app, whether you are on the scene, not on the scene, or in a relationship. But yeah, this tweet just really made me laugh, because I do think that there is this idea that so many long-term relationships started at university. And I say this myself as someone who's been in a long-term relationship for a really long time. And I'll be like meeting relatives I've never met before. And they're like, oh, so did you meet at, college? And I was like, well, no. Don't get me wrong, we met like in our 20s, we were still young. But I actually think again, completely guessing here, anecdotally, I feel more long-term relationships didn't meet at college, but maybe met in like the period that followed that. So like you're sort of coming of age after university, trying to find your feet in the professional world. I was curious what you think.
I think, I'm not sure on the college part, but I will say that I felt like me getting into a relationship maybe like 9 years ago, I feel like I was that guy who just got off the Titanic, because I think I started, doing my thing, and the dating apps were kind of just coming around, and I did participate in them a little bit. But I feel like now, obviously, in this current mood, if I ever became single again, like dating apps are the primary vehicle upon which you meet people. And I think most people find it a very frustrating, not helpful experience. So I kind of feel like, yeah, especially you as well, we kind of just escaped Titanic and we got the last lifeboat before it went, or the last plane out of Vietnam, however you want to say it,
What is
basically.
Titanic
right?
here? Single life or dating apps? What is
No,
Titanic?
so I'm saying that, yeah, the ability to get a relationship, that's the Titanic, and we got out, basically. And now dating, the streets, whatever you want to call it, it's a mess right now. So yeah, if you're listening to this and you're young, man, go find your boo in college or uni, man, because otherwise you're out here just swiping for the rest of your life. No, I'm joking.
What? I don't know if it's because I'm like, when you don't have like realistic experiences of a situation, so you completely like misjudge how feasible they are, manageable they are. But when I'm out and about, not at dating places, just like at life places, I don't know, like a climbing wall, a yoga studio, a festival, whatever, I'm just like, people are really struggling to meet people. I see people everywhere all the time. I don't know, the library, bookshops, I don't know. But I guess there's like perception and then there's reality.
I think this is going to be very difficult to say. One, I think historically people used to meet at work, and now that's a faux pas. You don't really want to do that. You don't really want to shit what you eat. If it goes wrong, it's a hot mess. Obviously, also, if you are mistaken in the other person's interest, it can seriously backfire as well. So yeah, I would never recommend any, young cousin of mine, look for love in the workplace. I'll be honest with you, right?
Yeah.
Then
all managers out there, look for love amongst your direct reports.
But I feel like we lived through one of the biggest seismic shifts in culture, in the sense that work was the primary place in which people met somebody, and now people probably wouldn't even dream of pursuing that. The second thing also is that like it's not easy to approach people in real life. Like to approach someone in real life, the odds of you coming across as a creep or doing it wrong is so high. So you're better off just going on these apps and trying it online. But then that also comes with its own problems and flaws. So I don't think there's any way out of it. Like these run clubs and whatever are great, but I don't know, mate. I don't know.
Church.
Everyone go back to the Lord. All right, cool.
Although we'll leave it there. Matchmaking businesses are successful for a reason, aren't they? Let's see.
We'll start that Techish matchmaking. We're going to charge a small commission of 20K. If you find your husband or wife, we get 20K. Shout out to us. I'm joking, I'm playing. All right, everyone. That's been this week's Techish. Hit us up at Techish Pod on YouTube, on Instagram, on X, unfortunately, if you're still there, on Threads. Actually, no, we're not on Threads, but we need to be on Threads. And leave a review. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We just hit over 1K followers and subscribers on YouTube. So if you want to join that, please do. And we will catch you next week. Peace. Bye.
Bye.